Welcome back to Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians and lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host today. We're broadcasting live from Roseville, Minnesota, in the belly of the beast, where police officers get charged with second-degree unintentional murder by the crazy Hennepin County attorney. We'll get into that story today. This episode is brought to you by Alpine Cabinetry in East St. Cloud. It's also brought to you by Warren Wessel of Warren Wessel Realty. If you're buying a home, selling a home, call Warren, a good patriot, 651-209-0171. Joining me, as usual, is Mr. Mega Jesse. How you doing there, buddy?
I am doing good, and we got some good stories to get into. I'm making sure the Rumble is working. I'm not sure if it is yet. Going to check up on that.
Looks like it's fine behind you.
Okay, looks like it's good now. Looks like it was just being a little bit slow for me there, but we got some big stories here with the leaked audio with Kari Lake, where she was being bribed to try to drop out of the U.S. Senate race. We got the Texas versus the Biden administration on the border. The Biden administration is threatening to take down the border wall that was established by the Texas government. We got
the Wire, as
right, the Wire. Yeah. Yep. Trooper Ryan Londegren charged with murder by Hennepin County attorney Mary Moriarty. That is totally nuts. We'll have to get into that. We got some updates on the 2024 GOP primary, why Nikki Haley is still in the race. Canadian court ruled the Trudeau emergency order was illegal. UAW, Sean Vane endorsed Joe Biden today, and maybe a few other stories along the way.
Running the dials as normal is Dawson, Mr. Deep State himself. How you doing there, Dawson?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing good. Today's leg day, so that sucks, but I'm getting a lot of beef jerky today, so I'm happy.
Do we have any audio issues? See, Tucker says Longbeard must have spit beer on the mix board.
I think that was a joke about how we were a minute and a half late.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. That was a YouTube tech issue, wasn't it?
Yeah. We haven't... YouTube never plays nice, but...
No, they don't.
We got it working.
Okay. If you guys want to join the program, go ahead and Rumble. You can... Jesse's going to try to read your comments. If you want to interrupt us anytime, hit that Rumble rant, and we'll read your comment live on air. And if this is the first time you're watching, make sure you hit that like button. Tells the algorithm to share us with other people. You guys are doing a good job on that. Keep doing it. Every time, just hit that like button, and it gets it out there on the World Wide Web, or actually the internal web of whatever the social media site you're watching it on is.
Yep.
Okay, let's get into the story here. Kari Lake leaked audio, or at least her campaign leaked audio. This came out Monday evening. Let's play a little bit of this audio, Dawson, in case somebody hasn't seen. I would imagine a lot of our audience has heard this audio. We just have a link. You can go to actionforliberty.com. You could read this link. But let's go ahead and listen to this audio and this is Jeff DeWitt. He's now the former chair. Okay, so he's resigned from this, but he was the chair of the Arizona GOP, and this is him about 10 months ago trying to basically tell Kari Lake to get out of the race, and there's money and a position for her to do it.
What's going on? What is? I'm assuming this is our friend.
This is back east.
Back east.
They're very powerful people. They want to keep you out.
I know they do.
But they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in a big way. So this conversation never happened.
This is crazy, though. They should want me. I'm a great candidate. People love me. These people are corrupt.
Well, maybe you're right.
They are right. They are corrupt.
Maybe. This never happened. Don't go. Do me a favor, though. I don't get myself in trouble. This, if you say no, which is fine, it's your choice. Don't tell people.
They're gonna try to have me murdered.
Today's world, man. If that stuff that came out last week is right about the cartel stuff, man. They said the cartel's operating in 50 states right now, like all 50. You know? So
what's going on? Who is it? What?
Forget the who.
Forget the who.
Let's just say the what. Let's just say there are people calling around.
This guy's so slimy.
Gosh, no, they can't repeat this. Never repeat this. If you say no, don't. Because I got offered to buy out. Don't use it. Because then we lose our ability to get things done. Other in the future.
Then we can't do it again.
Rather than just say, let's work with her. She's a great candidate. Because they don't own me. And it pisses me off.
Yeah, I said I know it's about ownership.
It's about control.
I don't know it's about control. It's about being on the team. I guess that's You know what I mean?
They want to be on the team.
They want you to be on their team.
But
Just
they're,
team. You know?
but if they're pushing a globalist agenda, I can't do that. So what do they want? What do they want me to do?
They want you to stay out for 2 years. But I'll tell you what I can offer you.
I can tell you what I'm going to offer you.
But I said you can do whatever you want. It's talking head, this and that. So the ask of me was, it's kind of funny. So the ask I got today from back east was, it has to stay between us. Is there any companies out there or something that could just put her on the payroll and give her to keep her out? And I said, well, what are you willing to do? Like, whatever we need to do.
This is about defeating Trump.
Okay, let's stop
I
it
think
there.
that-
So now you get it. You see the bribe, as he puts it out there. This Jeff DeWitt guy, he was actually in the Trump cabinet. I mean, cabinet's loose here. He was the CFO of
right.
NASA?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
Okay.
chief financial officer. So
Right.
right.
Dawson, I put the statement from him when he resigned. This is it's on line 8. This is his tweet. This is from the Arizona Republican Party. This came out at 1:10. This is right before we wrote the story up on it. Basically, he is saying that this was a concerted effort by Kari Lake to take over the Arizona GOP. The numbers right now, Jesse. I mean, she's got the nomination pretty much wrapped up, doesn't she?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a guy running against her, Mark Lamb, and I don't even mind Mark Lamb, but she's already got it locked down because she's so popular in the state of Arizona. The Republican Party, the base loves her. I'm not saying the people out east love her because obviously they're doing whatever they can to try to stop her. But I mean, you're right. This is a lock. She's got the nomination if she wants it, and since she's going for it, that's why Jeff DeWitt felt the need to put this out there, and it's total bribery. I can't believe that. Well, I can believe it. I think this stuff goes on more than we want to think it does because,
We'll get
as
into
Jeff
that.
DeWitt had said there, he said, don't tell anyone about this because then we can't get things done. That means we can't continue to threaten people. We can't continue to try to bribe them. That's exactly what that means. And he's right that once this stuff is exposed, you can't pull it off again. And, I'm
less
still not
likely
sure.
to.
Maybe it was Kari Lake, maybe it was her team that put this out there. I'm seeing Daily Mail was the first one to report it, but it doesn't even seem, when I look into the Daily Mail, if they tell us how they got a hold of this, but it definitely wasn't Jeff DeWitt because, look, he has to resign now.
Tucker told me that Kari Lake was on Steven Crowder's show this morning, and she said that she recorded it because Jeff asked for a meeting and said he couldn't talk over the phone, so she was suspicious, brought the recorder in, and then noticed the tape, almost forgot about it, and then brought it back up or released it. I think maybe Jeff's right as she's trying to take over the Arizona GOP, but why wouldn't she if this scumbag is in charge? Now, here's his defense. Reading the statement is basically, first of all, he says it's carefully edited audio. It doesn't sound like it's carefully edited.
Yeah, it doesn't sound edited at all to me. It sounds like it goes from point A to point B to point C to point D. It sounds as if it's a conversation. I'd like to know exactly what he's alleging was cut, if there was anything that's cut. But even if things were cut, what he's saying is damning. It's unbelievable.
Exactly. This is the second time I've listened to it, and there are clear cuts in the conversation, but
Probably didn't enhance the audio though, right?
well, there is enhanced audio, but there are cuts between like different segments of them talking. But no matter what, it's not going to absolve him of trying to bribe another person.
Are you
Like,
sure there's cuts, or could it just be silence?
No, it's one audio clip of one of them talking fading into the other one talking. I don't know how to explain it to someone who doesn't really know audio, but there's editing. Thing is, I don't think it matters. If it's edited to take out him saying, no, well, I'm just kidding, right? This is all jokes. Like,
Of course, Kari Lake could just put the whole unedited audio out there and quash that thing.
Right.
Not that it matters. The guy resigned already. Here's the deal. So he says that Kari Lake was working for him at the time. Okay, at a private company. And so what he was trying to do is look out for her best needs. He wanted her to run for governor in 2 years, so it was better for her to be sitting on the sidelines. It's just like, okay, you said some people out east want to basically make sure you're not running anymore. So now this guy's not going to say who it is, right? And this is why he's a coward, okay? And obviously Kari tried getting it out of him. But this is why this stuff happens, is no one ever exposes it. So good for Kari Lake for exposing it. What I want to tell you about is we know all about this stuff. In fact, we expose it when it happens. So let's go back to our article. You can go look at this at actionforliberty.com. This is actually straight from our political training course. Many of you guys have maybe been to our course, the Minnesota Political Leadership School. We do this maybe twice a year. It's now at this point, it's a special invite. So I'm giving you a super secret slide. You know, this isn't usually for public consumption, but I thought it was very relevant to do it. So we teach people the real nature of how the political system works and then how you can fight back successfully. We've had a lot of success in fighting back against government tyranny, especially at the county and city level, but even at the state level, ending Walz' emergency powers and stopping vaccine mandates. So here we go. So we teach what happens when you apply pressure to politicians. We can broaden this to what happens when you apply pressure to the swamp, which is clearly what Kari Lake is doing. They don't want her. She's America first, speak your mind, not go along with the swamp. So the first thing that they do to you is they ignore you when they can. And the problem for them is they can't ignore Kari Lake. She's too damn popular. She's got the nomination pretty much wrapped up at this point. I saw a poll, wasn't that back in October? She had was it 40% margin over the next guy or something like that? It was pretty big.
Right.
So,
and that was also with someone like Blake Masters also in that poll,
Right.
and Blake Masters isn't running for the U.S. Senate. Not that I remember, at least. Maybe I should double check myself on that. But it is very clear that she's going to be the Republican nominee as long as she wants it. And I think that this graphic that you have pulled up here perfectly illustrates, because this is the way that these politicians do things. They ignore you. They pretend like you're irrelevant. What you're saying doesn't make any sense, and then they try to
they
win
just
you
ignore
over.
you if they can ignore you. And
Right.
if you've been ignored by a politician, it means they're basically assuming you can't cause them much more pain. Okay? All right, so obviously Action for Liberty gets beyond that point. We have too much ability to deliver pain, so this is why we know the other categories. So number 2 is they try to sound reasonable with you. Now you could hear this guy trying to reason with her, right? They'll do this. They'll try to sound reasonable with you, like, hey, listen, there's a better time. They'll put it in your, good salesman, right? There's a better time for you to run, or maybe you should take it easy on this. Like for us, it's like, hey, we're with you, but you're hurting Republicans right now. We can't have the Democrats in charge. You shouldn't be asking for vaccine mandates to be ended. This is too much pressure right now during a campaign season, okay? And then number 3, what they do is they whine at you. Okay, now we see this one a lot. You're hurting the Republicans. They're not going to win. Remember McCarthy, the whole McCarthy battle? They go, this is going to hurt us at election time.
Yeah.
This makes us look terrible. That's what they whine about it. Oh, how can you be doing this? Now is not the time. You're ruining it all. So they whine and complain about it.
And guess what? The time never comes in the establishment's mind. They say now is not the time. Well, they never think there is a time, so now is always the time.
Because their objectives, their goals are not aligned with ours, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's the first thing you got to learn in politics is they have different goals than you. Number 1 goal for them is to get elected. Number 2 goal is to get reelected. And every other thing beyond that is very minor in terms of what they care about, right? That's all they care about is the reelection. So number 4 is when it really gets heightened. They start threatening you. Now, this has happened to us as an organization. I think one of the easiest cases here was we had a trailer. This is like 8 years ago. We had a trailer on Highway 65. And this is in East Bethel. And it was causing pain for a politician. I want to say this was actually Kurt Doubt. We had like something about him because I think he was the Speaker of the House. And we got a letter from the city administrator at East Bethel, official letterhead, telling us to remove that trailer, otherwise there was legal action to come towards us. Basically, we were breaking some rule, city ordinance, which we just said, nope, we're not removing the trailer because we, quite frankly, would love the battle.
They call it hate speech?
No, it
what
wasn't
were
hate
they
speech.
saying?
It was like something about right way, it was too close to the road or something. It was ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
It was ridiculous. We wanted this free speech battle. So we did what Abbott's doing, like, yeah, come and take it, basically, right? And then they back down, of course, right? They try threatening you. They try the legal action. Look what happens to Action for Liberty. Campaign Finance Board complaints against us. That's some kind of legal action they're taking against us to threaten us. So when you are politically powerful and make it painful for politicians and make it painful for Swamp, they come after you. They threaten you. I'm sure Kari Lake has been threatened at some point. Mm-hmm. And with a woman, you always worry that, they could fear for their physical safety. We know politicians that have worried about that stuff, not at the state level, but certainly nationally, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, shit, Rand Paul was pretty much beaten up by his neighbor.
Yeah.
Right?
Right, and then, exiting the Republican National Convention where him and his wife were surrounded by all these protesters, and, the police had to try to fight some of those people off. I mean, it's true that some people are completely nuts, and some of these politicians that stand their ground on important things, the Swamp is going to send the mob after you. Yeah. And I do want to read just a couple of these quick comments here. Napkin 8 says, we want names, Jeff, who back east? And I agree with you on that one, because same thing with Kari Lake. She said at the beginning of the conversation, is this our friend? Who is she talking about? Who is their friend? Who is friends with her and Jeff? Is she talking about Trump? I don't know. But she's even kind of speaking in a coded language that I wish was a little more specific. T-Wall for Life says, I'm thinking this isn't an isolated incident, and I also agree with you on that. I think that this kind of stuff is going on in a lot of different states. If there's a corrupt GOP chair, it's probably going on. And then Brad Ganser says, the real nature of politics class is a great class. So good to hear that you're with us on that.
That's right. Okay, so number 5, they have others threaten you, okay? And, we've seen this. I can't speak to it at that level. That's where you kind of get the fear that, the hitman, the infamous hitman is coming for somebody. Mm-hmm. And if you listen to the rest of the audio, she's literally alluding to, they could murder me. And then at the very end, Jeff goes, what did she say? You should expose him. And Jeff goes, well, that's the kind of thing where you turn your car on and it goes, boom. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, he might have just been kind of being funny. But, the Clintons, there's a lot of people around the Clintons that haven't fared too well. So people do wonder that if that literally happens. But when you have other people threaten you, it could be financial, it could be legal stuff. We've certainly had that happen to us, people working on the outside trying to threaten us with some legal action or something like that.
Or, hey, you need to leave so-and-so alone. They're a good representative. I know them. I know their family. That kind of stuff happens all the time. And, I think when we were attacking Tom Emmer, at least I was, we were, when the speaker battle was going on and a lot of people were exposing him for his Rhino record, people were saying, leave Tom alone. We need a Minnesota speaker. And I thought, why the hell do we need a Rhino speaker just because he's from Minnesota? That doesn't, I don't give a rip about that.
Well, I kind of liked it, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I understood the benefits of it as well. It wasn't my cup of tea, but I'm seeing Napkin 8 with a $10 Rumble rant here. Loving hearing the stories of you guys all fighting back, so appreciate you saying that.
Well, because he said that, we'll give you the best one of threatening, okay? This is the best one. We've talked about this on the show. I don't expect you guys to remember all this stuff, okay? So in Senate District 41, Tom DePel, the conservative candidate, takes out Tony Jurgens in the endorsement. Tony Jurgens, the establishment-backed candidate, the candidate that the Senate Victory Fund, which is the Republican Senate Committee, wanted, ends up challenging, by the way, recruited by Senator Karin Housley of the leadership in the Senate. They recruit him to run in the primary, ignore the will of the delegates, run in the primary against Tom DePel. Tom DePel beats him by 20 points, okay? During this process, so I should have backdated this to April is when Tom DePel won the endorsement. That means, for those that know, if you go to caucus, you become a delegate, and that's why you guys should go to caucus, and you should become delegates. But if you go to caucus, become a delegate in Minnesota, you get to choose who you want to endorse for the legislature. And the delegates, by the way, I just happen to be one of them in that district. That's the district I live in. We 70%, I think it was, went Tom DePel. So the establishment knew their play was to get Tony Jurgens in. They wanted Tony Jurgens to be their candidate. Tony Jurgens, who's Tony Jurgens? Like the biggest rhino in the world. And how do we know he's a rhino? Because when he lost the primary, he endorsed the Democrat and swung the entire Minnesota government to the Democrats. That's who Tony Jurgens is. By definition, there's no argument. The guy's a rhino. He endorsed a Democrat, and they took over the trifecta of government. But the key point here in the threat is they didn't want to have to do a primary because primaries are expensive. And by the way, they could lose a primary, which they did. So what did they do? They went to Tom DePel and they said, you have conducted an illegal activity with Action for Liberty. It's a campaign finance violation, and this is going to come out if you continue your campaign. Now, Tom never wanted to actually bring this to the public's view, which is, I've told Tom he should do it because the number one thing you got to do to stop corruption in the future is you got to expose it.
Just like Kari Lake.
However, the establishment made the wrong move. The establishment then, for whatever reason, almost a year later, decided we're going to go ahead and do that campaign finance complaint. Mostly, well, for whatever reason, we know they want to harm us, right? This was just dismissed by the campaign finance board. Once again, wasting government tax resources, Republican establishment coming after us with a completely fabricated, erroneous campaign finance board complaint. Which was dismissed. I think it was dismissed in December. It's getting hard to track how many of these erroneous campaign finance board complaints we're having. We win them all because we don't do anything wrong. Anyhow, so they actually carried through with it. Well, then Tom DePel, in his defense, brought this up. So it is on public record. They threatened Tom DePel, trying to get him out of the race. Otherwise, this legal action was going to come. By the way, they never brought it that summer. They waited till way after the election, but they threatened him with it, and it was total bullshit. So this stuff happens right in Minnesota, and that is like not a minor little thing. It's such a major thing because Tom DePel ends up spending $50,000 in the primary against some loser rhino who ends up endorsing the Democrat. That $50,000 could have been spent in the general election. He loses by 321 votes. That was the closest district. It's what gave the Democrats the trifecta in our government. So yes, they will try to do this. They will threaten people even here in Minnesota Senate districts. I have more examples, but I don't want to go into those.
Juergens also did this under the guise that Judy Seeberger was some kind of like blue dog Democrat. She's fallen in line on every single bill. The transgender mutilation for children, she's all for it. Abortion up till the moment of birth, she's all for it. Judy Seeberger, she doesn't have any issue where she differentiates herself from the rest of the Democrats. She's just as radical as Omar Fateh. She's just as radical as every other Democrat within the Senate there. And just a couple of comments here. Razzle Dazzle agrees with me, says, keep attacking Emmer. It's warranted. More than a rhino, a Democrat that has infiltrated the Republican Party. Agreed with you on that. Brad Ganser says Tony Juergens is responsible for the disaster that was last session. And we got Dave's Right joining the chat here, says hello. And also I see Zane X Ha 1. I'm looking at your Rumble channel because you're telling people to follow you in the chat. I'm not sure what the hell your channel is, to be honest with you. It's a mix-up of random videos, white bikini video.
But isn't that just a troll?
Cats versus dogs.
Isn't that a troll?
I can't tell what this is.
Did he just read a troll account?
Yeah.
Well, it's not even a troll account. It's like it's just like a bot maybe. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Stop reading bots.
I don't know. This is a weird channel.
Okay, well, obviously the next level is when they try to buy you, and that's what happened in Kari Lake. Obviously, they don't want to buy you because think about the things you got to move to do. I mean, by the way, threatening is probably legal. I don't know Arizona law. We tried looking it up this morning, and I think it'd take a little more research because we saw something about public servants. We didn't see something with candidates. It is in Minnesota illegal to buy off a candidate, try to remove them from office. That is a legal activity. So buying has got huge implications legality-wise, but also then it means like you got to convince some donor or some company to hire somebody and keep them on the sidelines. I could make some allegations this has happened in Minnesota without knowing the internals. We had somebody. I'm not going to go into that story. I don't think I've been personally offered something in politics, so I don't know if we've gotten that level. Maybe that's just because they made the assumption that wouldn't work with me. Possibly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably. And, one thing, on principle, actually, it's funny with that Jeff DeWitt, I kind of agree that I'd rather have Kari Lake in the U.S. Senate race. But guess what? If she does, let's say in the scenario where she took that offer and she said, okay, I'll wait 2 years, guess what's going to happen in 2 years? They're paying her off again
Yep.
and again and again, up until the moment that she has no more grassroots support. Once the energy behind Kari Lake is gone, that's when they go, okay, our investment was worth it. We got what we wanted to out of it.
Right.
But, I would rather see Kari Lake as governor, but that's a separate discussion. It's up to her if she wants to run for the U.S. Senate, and considering that she's in the race, I hope she does well.
So the last one in what we teach is they may vote your way, or they might come your way, and that's what will happen. Is Kari Lake will win the endorsement or win the primary, and then eventually they'll all be on board with Kari Lake. She'll be a U.S. senator because she's going to win in Arizona, and they'll all be on board with her until she really pisses them off, and then we go through the list again. And that's what ends up happening. Is this is why we conservatives need to stick to our objective and stick to what we're doing, because we will be successful if you can make it through all those things. In the end of the day, you will win on these issues if we don't go away, okay? And we could show you proof of that here in Minnesota. Certainly. Oh, I forgot this one. Here's a good threatening one. This one was crazy. When we were going after the con artist, Democrat con artists who were voting to protect walls as emergency powers, the sergeant of arms in the Minnesota House called me, basically conferring the message that we need to cease operations, which I told them, no, we're not going to stop doing it. This is a protected right to do. And then, of course, he backs off. He's probably just being a good Nazi and doing his job, because Speaker of the House, Melissa Hortman, told him to do it, or Ryan Winkler told him to do it. By the way, you can go to our YouTube channel, Action for Liberty's YouTube channel. You'll see, literally, on there, you'll see him do this. Like, I played the voicemail he left for me. So,
yep, and like you said, maybe the establishment realized you can't be bought off, but Brad Ganser says the Tushy has offered chicken wings to be bought off. So if the establishment knew that secret, maybe they could own Tushy too. That'd be a sad day.
I don't
though.
think Tushy can be bought off. By the way,
Probably not.
He's doing he's doing chicken wings for something he wants to do. By the way,
Yeah.
that guy is Tushy is very principled. All right. Although Yeg, maybe you could buy him off with Yeg. Let's move on to, I think we beat that one to death.
Yeah.
And you guys, once again, stay the course. Stay the course. There's more of us than there are them. Conservatives need to be strong-willed. I think there's a optimistic story here. I know the news and everything and all these threats and bribery is bad, but if we stay the course, and Kari Lake showed, stay the course, and now she's succeeding, we will prevail in the end. Let's go. And so, speaking of which, Texas versus the Biden administration. This is an interesting story. This is from the Texas Tribune. I mean, everyone's like, what's going to go on here? Are they going to cave to the federal government for the Supreme Court? Go ahead and read that.
Oh, yeah, we got T-Wall for life, $15 Rumble Rant, thank you. Says, didn't he ask her to name her price? Yeah. Later on in the conversation, they get into all the specifics and everything. If you haven't listened to the full audio yet, definitely encourage you to do it, because it gives you a lens into the way politics really works. But yeah, she was, I think they'd be willing to offer more than $1 billion to get out of this thing, because she's very popular, and that's the last kind of person they want in D.C.
I don't know, unless you're Epstein, I don't think you can transfer that kind of wealth without people knowing. I used to have this joke. Yeah, you could buy me out for $1 million, so then we'll shut down Action for Liberty. We'll take the $1 million and roll it into a brand new liberty organization fighting for you.
Yeah.
Essentially, it just doesn't work buying someone off. I mean, it doesn't work for people like us, because we're not in this for money. We're in this for the principle. We really, truly believe in liberty. Now, there are people that get bought off because they're just looking for an easier life, which, by the way, you kind of understand. Like, no one wants to struggle financially. Yeah, there you go. Dawson's like, you can buy me off. But then never come to because lobbyists to a degree have all been bought off, right? If you're lobbying for something you don't really truly believe in, then you've basically looked at the value of your service and the money it provides as a higher thing than the actual values you pretend to believe in. Like, to me, I would never work against liberty. Kari kind of said that there's no price to work against liberty.
Yeah.
Right? For me not to run for U.S. Senate, maybe there is a price. I don't know. I wouldn't really want to do it that much.
Right.
But no, I think she's got good intentions. All right, here we go. Texas border standoff with feds continues despite U.S. Supreme Court order. This is written by the Texas Tribune. The Texas National Guard and state troopers are still rolling out concertina wire and preventing Border Patrol agents from accessing most of Shelby Park, a 47-acre Eagle Pass park that sits on the bank of the Rio Grande, where thousands of migrants have crossed. I mean, just think about this, like happening by your house. Like in Minnesota, it's such a foreign concept to think of thousands of people migrating through that small of an area. And that's what's the reality, and that's why they're doing this. Those continued efforts come despite the U.S. Supreme Court earlier this week vacating a lower court's decision that prevented Border Patrol agents from cutting the state's concertina wire to apprehend people who already crossed the river. The Supreme Court's 5-4 order didn't give any reason and didn't explicitly say Border Patrol agents were allowed to access the park or that the state had to remove the concertina wire. So the state has doubled down, and some Republican lawmakers have said Texas should defy the Supreme Court's ruling, which, by the way, from my knowledge, they haven't defied the Supreme Court's ruling. They are putting up more concertina wire, but it didn't say they couldn't, right? On Wednesday, Governor Greg Abbott defended his actions, saying Texas has the right to continue doing what it's doing. He added, without providing evidence, that President Biden has been refusing to enforce current immigration laws.
Yeah.
That's the media right there.
Right.
Well, he didn't provide evidence to the thing that everyone knows is happening.
The next paragraph is the evidence.
Yeah, he's quoted here. President Biden has violated his oath to faithfully execute immigration laws enacted by Congress, Abbott said. Instead of prosecuting immigrants for the federal crime of illegal entry, President Biden has sent his lawyers in federal courts to sue Texas for taking action to secure the border. He doesn't need evidence. Everyone sees
the proof is out there.
Yeah, the migrants are coming. We know they're coming because the Biden administration has taken away the policy, the Trump-era policy, where supposed asylum seekers have to stay in the country next to ours instead of come in here. So he allows these people to come in here, and then they get basically adjudicated within a 2 to 3 year span. So it's like a backdoor into illegal immigration. So what is he like? There's no evidence needed here. That is like widely known facts with anyone that's paying attention. But leave it to the media to ignore that and try to. Well, it is a clown show. Napkin 8 says, yeah, it's a clown show. Exactly. That's why we do what we do. We expose the corrupt politicians and lying corporate media.
Yeah, and
right?
Abbott, he's not perfect. It's not like this is some liberty champion. He's kind of establishment in a lot of ways. I appreciate what he's doing because, I mean, how long are you going to just allow open borders to be flooding your own state? At a certain point, you have to take a stand. And I appreciate that this battle is happening because I think it is an important constitutional question of who has the proper authority for border security and what do you do in the situation where a federal government is abdicating that responsibility. So I think that this is an important question. I appreciate that it's getting through the courts. I mean, I'm not happy that Amy Coney Barrett is siding with these liberals on this because, it's just crazy to me that, I'm not sure what her rationale for that was, but I
no
think
one knows because they didn't tell us.
Yeah. And maybe that was an intentional thing because...
that was just TRO, I guess.
Right.
So, Jesse, I think the thing that solves this is secession.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I'm not a secessionist. At least I'm not there yet, But if our government got to a certain point, maybe. But the way that I look at it, we want to be the global superpower.
What is a certain point it has to get to before you go, wait, I don't want to be part
Here's
of
the
this
thing. We're
$33 trillion in debt.
Even though Joe Biden sucks, there's all these problems. We're still mostly free in this country. We're able to make this broadcast. We're able to speak our minds.
But you could be more free in the state of Texas.
Could I? I don't know. It's not like Abbott. Like I said, it's not like he's a freedom warrior. I'm not sure I would believe that. Maybe in certain regards there's more freedom on gun rights or maybe something else. But, the way I see it is we are in a global battle between us, China, and a little bit Russia of who wants to be the superpower of the world. If we allow secession, if we allow our country to become divided, if we decide to split off...
Wait, what do you mean by we allow?
If we, the American people...
Because we were having this discussion in the pre-show, and I'm like, let's save it for the show. But you're talking so nationalistically here. It's like the state, this is a great book, Compact of the Republic, written by David Benner, a good friend of mine. It's really a voluntary association of states. That's our founding, right? We're in many ways like Europe and the European Union in the sense that you do have a general government that does certain limited stuff, and there are still sovereign countries. I mean, states are just countries, right? We call them states. They do have their own flags. They do have distinct features. They have their own republic government. They don't, they for lack of better terms, are countries. And because they are sovereign and because they voluntarily joined the compact of states, they should be able to voluntarily leave when the national entity or the union of the states is no longer pursuing constitutional means or the basic functions like protecting the border. Like, where am I wrong on that? And by the way, Texas has got such a booming economy. They can literally secede.
I told you before they'd be Germany. Would they be an okay country? Sure. They'd have an economy, but they're supposed. Are we supposed to believe that Texas is going to be the United States' ally in that situation? It's only going to cause problems, and I don't necessarily want to see a battle between the government killing the people, and I don't want to see that civil war unfolding. And we're screwed forever electorally if we get rid of Texas. We're never going to win another presidential election again, so we'll be completely screwed on that front.
That's very true.
And
but if you're
I am a nationalist.
You're a Texan, you're looking independently of that,
right? But I am a nationalist in a lot of ways, more than I am a statist in some ways, because I believe that we are stronger together as a country. And I do not want China to become the superpower of the world. If China becomes the superpower of the world, we're going to see the complete decline of freedom worldwide. We're not perfect, and especially with the things we do overseas with being the police state of the world. But I would still 100% take that any day over China as our world leader.
Yeah, but I don't think those are your two options. By the way, I'd love to hear what you guys think at home. I don't understand that. Like, I think you're just bringing up.
There can only be one. There can only be one superpower.
They're literally but so what does a superpower mean? I mean, we're $33 trillion in the hole. We have a failed foreign policy, and it's not just Biden, although it's really bad under Biden. Texas could do their own thing, and they should do their own thing if the general government. First of all, the federal government shouldn't even exist to the degree it is right now. It's a 180-degree difference than what the Constitution even allowed it to be. And it's a broken system. It's bankrupt. It's hurting. It's actually hurting us being part of the United States of America, right? I love what the United States of America represents, but from a liberty standpoint and an individual rights standpoint, it seems better at this point to be apart from that union, which you could still trade. You could still come up with clear alliances on defense, right? So,
no, I mean,
why couldn't you?
Because if you secede from our country, we're not giving you shit. That's if Texas secedes. Why would not be our friend?
We have NATO. NATO's a joint alliance. Why wouldn't Texas have a joint alliance in defense with the rest of the states? Why wouldn't they do that?
I mean,
we literally we have this with Ukraine. You say we would
have
I'm not with Ukraine, but we wouldn't do it with
Texas.
But
I'm not for NATO. I don't think you are either. I don't think either of us think that it's reasonable for NATO to continue to exist.
Right, but I do believe that we could do this with Texas.
If they secede, they're not our ally. That's the biggest problem.
I think they're our ally. I think they're making a smart, conscious decision,
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I don't plan to move to Texas, so I generally don't want this to happen because you're right, the electoral map sucks for us then.
Yeah.
That's an enormous amount of electoral votes gone.
Mm-hmm.
But from a position of a Texan, which they have a very rugged individualist streak,
mm-hmm.
it actually makes a ton of sense. And this is
to me, I just look at it more in like a perspective that it's not even if we had secession in this country.
So what is the ultimate solution? Are you wanting to weigh in here too, Dawson? Well, let me pose this question. What is the ultimate solution if the federal government continues to usurp their powers, usurp their responsibilities, and they act unconstitutionally, and they go against individual rights and states' rights, and the Supreme Court backs them on these things? What do you think is the solution here? I mean, is it just completely ignoring the federal government? At some point, doesn't it kind of lead to secession?
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm not 100% sure because, we could make the argument that why didn't we all secede during vaccine mandates? But to me, the reason I'm against is because I still believe in the picture of America. I still believe.
Oh, I do too.
I still believe in our Constitution. I still believe that our nation is stronger together. Even
yeah,
though
but I do
there's so
too.
many problems.
I do too, Jesse. I'm just saying the problem with the Constitution is it doesn't protrude fangs and bite its aggressors. So if the politicians that are in the care of the Constitution and supposed to do what's constitutional don't do it, well, something's got to happen. And, it seems these days, well, Kari Lake, right? You get a good candidate to run for U.S. Senate, which, by the way, would only be one of 100, and they'll threaten and try to remove her or try to buy her off, right? So it's almost like you're not going to solve it by just sending a new senator there, although I would definitely advocate for sending better representatives and senators out there. But the states seem to be the solution here. I mean, listen, I'm having some fun with you, Jesse, because no one knows right here. This is why people are talking about it. It's clearly a big issue. And Texas is doing something that seems today to be unprecedented. In the history of the United States, it's not unprecedented. There's a lot of times where states started acting up to the federal government, and it happened right away at the onset of this country. Dawson, you look like you want to speak. What do you get?
I'm trying to think of the answer to the question, what if the government keeps on doing these things? Isn't the ultimate answer seceding? To secede, is it a vote in the legislature of a state?
Well, you'd certainly hope they do that. Don't do the main thing and just the Secretary of State decides unilaterally.
Well, and that's the problem. There's not like a procedural outline of it, because the only way that secession was tried before was through the Civil War. Besides that, it's not like there's a complete process where, it has to work its way through the state house, state senate, then citizen approval, and then federal government approval. I mean, in that situation, if the feds and Texas agreed to it, then I'm sure it would just happen. But of course, that would never happen.
It seems like it would be in Texas, you still have some people who would agree with like different blue states or something like that. So if Texas were to secede, just like one day they're like, we're done. That's like, then aren't they the massive immigrant issue where it's like all these people are fleeing Texas and all these people are coming into Texas because they're like, I want out of here, I want into here. It's like, then they're going to have a border crisis on literally every border that they have.
Yeah, because you're right. It's like probably only 55 to 60% of Texas votes Republican. So, that means that there's, about 40% or so that 45% that are, that are with Joe Biden. So, yeah, it shows that.
But when you break it down, would they really be with what does that even mean with Joe Biden?
Right. I guess I just mean voting for him and the people that are dumb and blind and vote for, blue no matter who.
But they can always move. I mean, essentially in the system that we already have, there was a mass migration of people during COVID.
Can they always move, though?
What's that?
Can they always move? Because if Texas secedes, then, we're like, you're a Texas immigrant, like, we'll let you in, but then people from the U.S. that want to go to Texas.
I never thought of that. Like, what does that mean in the end?
What is that kind of border control going to be when it's between Texas and whatever?
Well, see, that's where I would advocate that we set up something similar to Europe, where we do have the ability for people to go across borders. I mean, they wouldn't be citizens, but they can go across borders, and we can do it peacefully, right?
Peacefully.
That's what I want to see. Peacefully. What does everyone say at home here?
Peacefully with a state that just seceded from the.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be that way. That's my point. It could be done peacefully.
Yeah,
that's the problem with the Civil War, is it wasn't done peacefully. Nikki Haley really screwed that one up when she answered it. But obviously slavery a massive component of it, so bad reasons. But then Abraham Lincoln marches the northern armies into southern towns. That's not a peaceful solution, right? I don't want to adjudicate that, because obviously slavery is a massive liberty issue, and that needs to be eradicated. So there's a principle obviously there. So let's look at today, where I don't think you have this. I mean, there could be
at that time it was
a
a fringe minority. I think one thing I had seen was that only 3% of people in the South owned slaves at the time of the Civil War. So
wealthy landowners.
It was definitely in some ways a culture war, and in some ways you just rally with your people.
So was it just elites like choosing what was going to happen? Like, we want.
You mean in the Confederacy?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't have all that stuff fresh in my mind, memory-wise. But, Yeah, I mean, you look at Jefferson Davis and you look at some of the other leaders of the Confederacy, you know, they were really the ones pulling the strings, and they were really the ones who wanted to create their own power structure, their own opportunity to become, a president, and we know how long that lasted. But, to get to some of these comments here, though, Napkin 8 says, if we weren't making headway, I would agree with secession. North MN says, I doubt we would be able to convince Walls into succession. Tucker 91 says, one of the reasons Texas joined the U.S. was for border protection from Mexico. They would have never joined if they knew that they would be left on their own. That's an interesting point. Brad Ganser says, if Texas is successful in seceding, I'm heading to Dallas. Hashtag how about them Cowboys?
I really like what Tucker had to say. It's a great point. And, we talk about secession and we forget that Brexit, which was, when was Brexit? 2015? That was before Trump.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Boy, time flies.
Yeah, I know. It feels like it wasn't too long ago.
Brexit was secession. So it does happen. This isn't a crazy
it's
theory.
A little different, though. That was a globalist secession. You're seceding from an internationalist entity.
No, a European entity.
Right, it's the same thing.
But Europe, the EU, is very similar to what the United States is. Because there's many different polities inside of one conglomerate, right? They just did it differently. They did this way late. Obviously, Europe predates us by many years. EU's a new
I
concept.
see the EU, it's a little more like the UN than it is the U.S. federal government. It's more of a representation board of all these different countries coming together. They have some different rules and laws and things that the EU was pushing, especially when it came to mandating free speech on the internet, which I'm sure Nikki Haley must love. But, besides that, I think that for the most part, the authority lies within the countries.
Yeah, but that's my point, Jesse.
Right.
That's our Constitution.
That's how it
was
should
never,
be,
Yeah,
right.
it was never supposed to be the way it is. So that's what my argument is. It's so far from what it was supposed to be that it's almost like we're being held hostage, right? And so that's the argument for secession. It's like, you guys are not pursuing the Constitution. You're not doing what was lawful, what we granted you the right to do. And they voluntarily signed this compact to become a country or a union of states.
Yeah.
And then what was the guideline or what was the rules? Well, the rules are the Constitution. And when they're not following the damn Constitution, what's the recourse? And that's the scary thing. We don't know. What's Mark sharing here? Governor Abbott strengthens economic relationship with technology partners in Mumbai. Yeah, I mean, they're a powerhouse economically. Let's go to the next story here. Trooper Ryan Londegren charged with murder by Hennepin County attorney. This is from Forbes. If people that aren't from Minnesota, you might not know this story. We did cover it when it happened. Basically, July 31st, so this is back in August when we did the show. So a state trooper pulls over Ricky Cobb, who happens to be a black guy. Obviously, that's what gets everyone riled up about things these days. And the cop happens to be white. That doesn't always matter, obviously, because in the case of George Floyd, two of the police officers were not white. 2 of the 4, right? So he pulls over Ricky Cobb, and this is like 2 in the morning or something like that, because his lights weren't on when he makes the
on the freeway.
Runs the plates. Yeah, it's on freeways on 94 right in the heart of Minneapolis, St. Paul. He notices that this guy is actually needs to be brought in for some violating, I think, like a restraining order or something like that. He's got a record. So he goes to do a lawful arrest on the guy with 2 other state patrol officers. And Ricky Cobb then gets on the shifts into drive and starts fleeing the cops with them basically half inside the vehicle, dragging one cop and causing some injuries. At this point is when the officer, Ryan Londegren, I think I'm saying this correctly, accidentally discharges his firearm and ends up killing Ricky Cobb. Okay? I'm saying accidentally because I don't believe his intention was to do it, but probably because Ricky Cobb got in the vehicle, didn't get in the vehicle. He was already in the vehicle, but sped off. Probably the finger slips or was a reaction to it. Okay, now this happens
because he already had his gun drawn. If I'm remembering,
correct.
What
They were
had
making
happened.
a lawful arrest, and the guy was already
right. He had his gun drawn from the outside of the passenger window. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I remember the story correctly, but yeah, and maybe you're right. Maybe it was an accident when he pulled the trigger. Maybe he, probably a better opportunity is you shoot the tires, because that's the easiest way to stop somebody. But
maybe, yeah,
maybe.
And you don't know what kind of damage this guy could cause.
Right, and then you have to worry about bullet ricochets and all kinds of stuff.
Correct.
So, I'm not a police officer. I don't want to pretend like I got all the answers, but obviously it would have been better if this guy, Ricky Cobb, didn't get shot. And, there's plenty of people who flee from the police. This isn't the first time ever that's happened, and not every single time do the police start shooting. But
when the cops are actually half inside the vehicle, you
right.
do have a deadly weapon by fleeing with
right,
cops
and somebody being dragged along, obviously not acceptable.
Right. For what would be a lawful arrest. I think it's a different thing when you got a tyrannical government. Although some people look at it this way, but a tyrannical government arresting people with no real cause. This is not what happened here. This is a guy that literally had broken the law and needed to be brought into, I think it was Ramsey County. So this is from Forbes. A Minnesota State Patrol trooper was charged Wednesday with 3 criminal counts in the fatal shooting of Ricky Cobb II during a traffic stop in Minneapolis last July. It was July 31st that it happened. Mm-hmm. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office said, Minnesota State Patrol Trooper Ryan Londegren, these are the key facts. Londegren, 27, was charged with second-degree unintentional murder, first-degree assault, and second-degree manslaughter.
He's only 27?
He's only 27.
That is crazy.
In the July 31 fatal shooting of Cobb, who was 33. The Attorney's Office, which received the case in September, following a Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension investigation, is not seeking bail, and prosecutors will ask the court to have Londegren surrender his passport and firearms, the statement says. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty, I don't know why I can say her name, told reporters during a news conference that the office called on a use of force expert to conduct an independent review of the case following the investigation. The typical sentence for a second-degree murder conviction is from under 11 years to 15 years. Okay, so let's...
Yeah, he definitely doesn't deserve 11 to 15 years for that. I understand certain things like, maybe you got to put someone on a temporary, leave of absence, and maybe you got to give them paid leave or unpaid leave depending on circumstances for different situations. But 11 to 15 years is unbelievably ridiculous. And, hearing that he's only 27, I didn't realize that before. But, I look at that and I go, that guy's only 2 years older than me. You can see how that kind of, just mistakes happen. And, sometimes, especially when your adrenaline's going, that's why I don't want to be a cop, because I know that I'd screw it up immediately. I'd do something wrong. And, that's why you got to have respect for the guys that are very, very good at their jobs and the ones who, keep a positive attitude and they don't go negative with everybody. But it's just, it's crazy to hear that Mary Moriarty is pushing this crap. And who knows, maybe Keith Ellison is going to have to step in again, because she's overstepping her bounds big time with this charge. We looked at what the statute said for defining second-degree felony unintentional murder. And it just didn't even look like this situation fit the statute.
Let's get into it. I put on line 18 the video. So let's watch the video, and then we'll show you guys what second-degree unintentional murder charges are in Minnesota by statute, and we'll let you decide on it, because it does seem a little goofy. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's just so the Hennepin County Attorney, for those that don't know, is making a lot of noise, a lot of news these days for basically letting bad dudes, people that are committing violent crimes or at least gun crimes, illegal gun crimes, letting them off easily, and then here she is prosecuting a state patrol officer doing a very difficult job 6 months after the incident. So in other words, they've been allowing this murderer, as they say, go free for 6 months to go commit more murder.
Yeah.
He's not a murderer, by the way. I think that's a crazy charge. Here's the video.
This is a graphic video, by the way, so viewer discretion or whatever.
And brought down, so I'm just gonna go a driver's side approach, and yeah, he's nice to meet you. He's just amped. How you doing, my man? I'm gonna need you to step out, though. We're gonna have some stuff to talk about, okay?
What?
We just have some stuff to talk about. So I'm gonna
Every time y'all talk about,
all right,
we
come
need
on.
some stuff to talk about, y'all for taking me to jail, but for what? Man?
All Okay. There's some stuff to talk about. It's with Ramsey County. We just have to have you step out.
Yeah, hold on, no. Well, Ramsey County?
Yes.
Never.
Okay, do you want just
No,
take the keys
no,
out
because
there.
I call my attorney right now. Hey, this ain't no funny
Okay.
All right, so, you know, I should have been a little bit smarter and not brought up USA Today's video that was selectively edited there. I don't know if they show other angles of it, but boy, they cut that one off real quick and showed the probably worst angle possible for that incident. I don't know if they show it because I remember we diagnosed this video at the time, and I should have had this ready to go, but we wanted to talk about those other two stories first. It did not. It looked a lot worse from that angle. It almost looks like the cop drew the weapon and just intended to shoot it right away. But you see in the other video, and I don't know, maybe we could find this on the fly, Dawson, or you could see if the video is still running. But it shows basically the cop's got his weapon drawn. The guy then takes off, and I don't know if. And the other reason I said they were selectively editing it, it doesn't show them dragging. I think the trooper to the left is drugged by the vehicle. Is this showing it?
No, this is the same thing, but what we were looking at was this guy to the right.
That's Ryan Londegren, yep.
He pulled out his weapon as this guy was pulling away.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
our thought was that he got, like, stuck here while he was getting tugged away or, pulled by the car. And so that's when he either accidentally fired or purposefully fired his weapon. I personally think that
Well, you'd
if
figure
he
the
fired it on
safety's
purpose, that would make sense. But I don't know.
I don't think its firearms got a safety on it.
Oh, no?
No.
Okay.
Do police?
See, it doesn't. See, that's why I'm saying it cuts it off, so you don't get the context of this gentleman on the left, the trooper that ends up getting injuries that night, being drugged by the vehicle, meaning he's putting that Ricky Cobb's putting this guy in danger. Listen, unfortunate. You don't want to see people die, okay, but it just goes back to the fact that this guy is causing, like, literally a vehicle is a lethal weapon in this regard. He's resisting a lawful arrest.
Yeah, I think I watch a guilty pleasure of mine is watching cop arrest videos and stuff like that. Jake walks in on me watching them sometimes.
Me too.
And it's like I have seen so many people pulling away from police officers and stuff, and what happens almost every time is the police officer gets back into their car and then takes off after them, right?
Yeah.
So the only difference here is that this guy has got his gun out already when he's starting to peel away.
Right.
And so it seems like an accident to me, but at the same time, should you have had your gun out right then? I don't think so.
It seems like that would be right. Now, once again, I am not. I come from a military background, so I could speak to that, the rules of engagement. I couldn't speak to law enforcement, but you have to look at a vehicle as a deadly weapon. So, if someone's pointing a gun at a cop, the cop has the right to pull the firearm, right? Mm-hmm. So wouldn't they have the right if someone is using this as well, right?
I'd be curious to see what
maybe that's the
police
case
training
if Ricky Cobb was driving right at him. Maybe in that situation you have a right to shoot, but he's on the side of his car.
I'm not saying a right to shoot. I'm saying a right as a deterrent, right? Mm-hmm. You can pull what's that?
It's like I say, every single one that I've seen, it seems like there's a procedure. Is you're in their car, they start to take off. Your police officer duty is to get as far away from the car as possible, right? Because you don't want to get hurt. Get to your car, take off after him. So
that this guy can actually.
And it looked like Londegren.
Hold on.
Yeah.
So this guy can then drive recklessly and possibly.
People
hurt
do that all
someone
the
else?
time. People
What's that?
drive recklessly, just like whatever.
Right, but they're literally in Minneapolis, and I think this predated this. I'm pretty sure predated it, where John Thompson, former Representative John Thompson's son, literally smashed a car of, was it 5 women and some girls, maybe something like that, and killed them all.
Yeah.
Well, is someone
manslaughter?
Is somebody driving a car? Then they have a.
What do you think is going to happen? The
weapon?
guy's already taken off from the cops.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem natural. The next thing that's going to happen is a chase, high-speed chase. Doesn't it seem like the next level this is going to?
Yeah, high-speed chases happen all the time.
Well, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's not preferable.
High-speed chases happen, and then
So-
that's when you slam into a vehicle with 5 women and you kill them.
So instead you shoot the guy?
No, I'm saying that's why you brandished a firearm. I think it was a mistake that the firearm went off, but
Yeah.
don't you think to stop that from happening is okay and lawful? Boy, we should have a cop on the show to kind of go
That's-
through
we
what's
should
correct.
know
But you
what-
would think it's lawful for a cop to draw his firearm to try to deter someone from driving off.
I've literally never seen somebody do that in a cop video of somebody taking away. So it seems like it's not in their training necessarily.
Well, Kim Potter
I mean,
did it.
Yeah, that's
She
the
was
thing.
trying to grab a
I think
taser,
it's a gray
obviously.
area. Like, obviously, there's not a training manual for every little incident that a police officer is going to face. They just know that if their life is in danger, they have the right to respond. And in that moment, he obviously felt like his life was in danger. We can argue whether or not he was right to think that, but that's obviously the situation here.
Let's go to, once again, I think you have to see multiple angles, but let's go
Yeah,
to
if you have the right video.
What's that?
If you have the right video somewhere, then we
Well,
should
why
look
don't you
at
just do
that.
this? Let's do it on the fly here. I think we got to do this more justice. Just look up Ricky Cobb video.
Would it be easier to find our initial reaction to it on Rumble?
It might, but yeah, it'd be kind of
I think we watched like a long version of it,
Yeah.
though. I think it's on YouTube. If you just look up Ricky Cobb shooting, I'm sure it pulls up.
And then I'm going to get to the section of law that's second degree unintentional murder.
Oh my gosh, I freaking hate Bing so much.
And this is by Care 11. This might be good.
It's only
Yeah, it
3
said-
minutes
yeah,
long.
What's that?
It's only 3 minutes long. I don't.
Yeah, but it seems like that might be.
Oh my gosh. Blah 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 blah.
All right, let's
blah,
take a
blah, blah,
look.
blah. It is the same exact thing. It looks like. It's got
Yeah,
a
well, at
little
least
more.
they at least
Yeah,
show
they
it
go
driving off
on.
on this one, so you can see it actually causing harm. Okay, so
See,
this is a
what-
different angle.
That guy like jumped into the car. That was before it started to take
They're trying
off,
to
though.
make an arrest. You can see that cop on the left was injured. Okay, there you go. That's the angle. Do we have volume on this?
do. I'm sure it's just them reporting on it though.
Asked him,
Hold on, no.
and he refused to get out of the car. Get out of the car now! Trooper Ryan Londegren fired from the passenger side as his partner, Trooper Brett Seide, was leaning inside trying to stop Cobb from fleeing. Londegren's attorney argues the shooting was justified because
He got-
the car was moving, Seide was being dragged, and Londegren was protecting Seide and himself from death or great bodily harm. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty believes the shooting was not justified, saying an objectively reasonable officer would not have fired those shots.
They are not allowed to shoot at a car which is driving away. They're not allowed to shoot
Can't do that,
someone
Jesse.
to prevent the car from driving away. They are only allowed to use deadly force if it will prevent great bodily harm or death to their partner or somebody else.
According to the criminal
I mean, that sounds pretty cut and dry, doesn't it?
Well, then the defense
No,
is...
Mary Moriarty's so full of shit. I mean, that's the thing. She wants to sit there and act like she's got all the answers. She's never been a police officer. She doesn't know the first thing, so she wants to be the one to
Who is
make
she?
all these judgments here.
Who is she? The
She's the county prosecutor for Hennepin County.
so she. I assume she would have studied whatever their training is then.
Yeah, well, that's a big assumption there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Usually in most cases what you find is most district attorneys, most prosecutors are usually pretty reasonable, smart people who are competent. Mary Moriarty is not. And she's obviously, she's made this so politicized. She waits for the opportunity for any of these, cases to come up. She obviously isn't a fan of cops, which is fine, but that's fine for a private person to believe whatever they want. But when you are a government official who is designated with protecting the order and justice within Hennepin County, you have this extreme bias where she seems to think that this doesn't meet the definition. I might even agree with her on some of that, but the problem is she's saying it as such a statement of fact that that his life wasn't in risk, that his partner's lives weren't in risk, and therefore he didn't have that right. You know, one could reasonably make the argument that his life was at risk as he's being dragged by a car. You know, it's one of those things, it's a gray area. I don't think he handled it perfectly, but I'm definitely not with Moriarty, and I definitely don't want to see this guy locked up for more than a decade.
It seems so much more like a manslaughter thing instead of a murder thing. If
Yeah,
anything,
it's a weird thing to
like,
charge with that one.
Yeah.
Boy, even manslaughter seems crazy. I mean, maybe the guy definitely shouldn't be a cop anymore, but let's go to the state statutes, subdivision 2. So this is the statute on second degree murder in the second degree. Statute 609.185, Minnesota statute. Subdivision 2 is unintentional murder, so this is what he's being charged of. Whoever does either of the following is guilty of unintentional murder in the second degree and may be sentenced to imprisonment for not more than 40 years. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
They're acting like they basically say that they're getting 11 to 15 years. So, but they by statute could be 40 years.
Yeah.
Number 1, causes
especially for unintentional. You know, that's such a crazy
It
thing.
is
You know,
crazy.
you know, if you don't intentionally mean to do it, then it's, you know, usually a mistake.
Well,
You know,
let's
and
go through
should
what.
you go to prison?
Well, hold on.
for 40
Let's go
years
through
for
what
a
it is,
mistake?
because I think you can make the argument with like a drive-by shooting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through it.
Right.
Because like a drive-by shooting, you didn't intend to shoot the 2-year-old in the crib,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That sucker should never see the light of day again.
Sure.
All right, number 1, causes the death of a human being without intent to affect the death of any okay, so I guess that what I just gave would not be included, right?
Mhm. But that's for the subsection one there.
Unless the drive-by
Right.
shooting's intention was just to get these guys scared, so
Yeah.
they're spraying bullets without the intent of it actually harming someone. That'd be a hard one to
Yeah, that's a
argue
tough
in
sell.
court. Yeah.
Tough sell.
Causes the death of a human being without intent to affect the death of any person while committing or attempting to commit a felony offense other than criminal sexual conduct in the first or second degree with force or violence or a drive-by shooting. So it doesn't seem like that. This is second degree unintentional murder by that definition. So definition 2 is causes the death of a human being without intent to affect the death of any person while intentionally inflicting or attempting to inflict bodily harm upon the victim. So in this case, the victim is obviously Cobb here. When the perpetrator is restrained under an order for protection and the victim is a person designated to receive protection under the order. Doesn't seem like this is at all applying. As used in this clause, order for protection includes an order for protection issued under Chapter 518B, a harassment restraining order issued under 609-748, a court order setting conditions of pretrial release of or conditions of a criminal sentence or juvenile court disposition, a restraining order issued in a marriage dissolution action, and any order issued by a court of another state or of the United States that's similar to any of these orders. I guess what I have to look for is what is an order for protection issued under Chapter 518B. Is that like including a lawful arrest? Is that what that is? It must be, because otherwise I don't know how this would even apply here.
Yeah, the way that I'm reading it too, it just doesn't seem like it's the right statute, even if the case was, you know, even if it happened in the way that Moriarty's eyes were viewing the situation. Even with that, I don't think it's the right statute that she should be applying it to. And I'm seeing
No, 518B is domestic abuse, so that doesn't apply.
That is crazy. And yeah, T-Wall for Life says, complying with a police officer is now at the driver's discretion. The problem is with her statement is that it suggests that it's okay to just drive away. What were they supposed to do? And I agree, you know, obviously, you know, someone is not allowed to drive away from the police officers during a traffic stop. Yeah.
It's literally in Minneapolis. Someone did that. They were fleeing the cops, and this was John Thompson's son, and literally killed 5. I keep saying 5. I was pretty sure. Let's see, John Thompson's son.
I'm pretty sure it was 5. I think it was 4 or 5 too. And you know, John Thompson, his daughter has all kinds of legal problems too with the police. So I mean, you can find those stories out there too of you know, her screaming and yelling at the police. Just wait till my dad gets here. All kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, that happened in June he was arrested. For injured a woman in let's see here. Teenage girl, that's the 4 young women and 1 teenage girl. Yeah, 5. Yeah, 5. So 4 young women and a teenage girl.
Yeah.
All killed as he's fleeing police officers. He basically ran a 4-way intersection off on an off-ramp, if I remember the story right, and just is like big SUV slammed, T-boned basically this car, and they're all dead. That's why you try to stop somebody from fleeing the damn cops. You act like it's just a high-speed chase.
Yeah.
A high-speed chase is a very dangerous thing.
Sure, I would have to see what the stats are with high-speed chases that result in car crashes that kill 5 people versus high-speed chases that end with the person getting apprehended. I'm sure it's not every single high-speed chase ends with a bunch of people dead no matter what.
Yeah, you said this was 2 a.m., right? So if
like
it's
that.
if it's whenever it is, if it's past midnight, if it's early in the morning like that, you have to assume how many police officers do you have out there. Obviously, you have to take that into consideration. I think that the officer waited until he had other officers there with him until he was actually going to be able to pull over the vehicle. Usually, you want to have a couple of partners there with you to have your back and observe other surroundings that are going on. Obviously. I just forgot what it's called, but when you throw out those strips that spike strips, right?
Yeah.
Obviously that's one idea that they can pursue. They can, tell someone go up to this exit, and they're going to be coming up there in 2 miles. There's all kinds of things that the police can do in high-speed chases, but it's totally not preferable, and you don't want to risk the lives of regular people who are just driving in the midst of that.
I don't know if it's not preferable over shooting the driver, is it? Because, it doesn't make sense. How do you stop a fleeing car? It's probably, the best way is probably not by shooting the driver or, the tires out. Because then at that point, the tires, now he's swerving into this lane, and now 20 people are dead. It's
so this is actually interesting, and none of us are experts.
Yeah, it's like
here.
pit maneuvers are probably the best,
right.
where you're able to slam the car into the
I think
the
that
cement
is
barrier.
generally the
preferable method, right?
I think he didn't mean to discharge his firearm.
That's what I think too.
So once again, what does that do to this case? But can he discharge his firearm in this instance? That's the question.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's up to
well,
whatever
you don't think so, but I'm literally, is it? Can he?
Mm-hmm.
But it's
what does the law say?
It's whatever the law says. But in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense to have or to shoot the guy once you're in that situation.
Well, I just gave you a reason why you're just not buying it.
What
because
reason?
You look at the
because
vehicle
it's
as a deadly weapon and literally could cause great bodily harm.
No, I don't think that's a good excuse.
Well, but that's what self-defense laws say: is if you're going to cause death or great bodily harm, you can defend your life.
Well, you're saying that a car is literally a deadly weapon. Is it legally a deadly weapon? Is it considered a deadly weapon if you're in a high speed?
Great
yeah,
question.
for sure. It's definitely been used as a deadly weapon, driving through protests and things like that.
But
so
in this
it definitely
case-
has been used as a deadly weapon, so it can be seen that way.
Right, but in this case, I don't think that it could be considered a deadly weapon. I think that the guy...
If they're dragging the cop along and the cop dies, then it was a deadly weapon.
That is it if I fall on a knife that somebody's holding, then does that make the knife a deadly weapon in this case?
Well, that's
I think anything that can kill you.
Yeah, but that's a weird thing. It's like, did you use a knife as a weapon? Driving off with cops attached to it or inside of it would be construed as using it as a deadly weapon, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I like what North MN has a good comment here. Hindsight is always 20/20, but it's not easy to process every option in a split second. And I'm basically in that mindset too. And yeah, Tucker 91, a butter knife is a deadly weapon. So yeah, exactly. Anything that can be used for the purposes of that. So
whatever. I mean, legally, I'm speaking. I don't think that a car is considered a deadly weapon in this case legally. And so when it comes to
was it a weapon? Obviously it was a weapon in this case, right? Because he was dragging the officers.
No, I don't think that it can be considered a weapon because the cop was holding on to it. It's like and legally it might be something else. This is just me saying what I think.
You're just saying the term doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to call a car a deadly weapon. Like if someone's hanging off the back of your car, like trying to rob you or something, and then they die from falling off because you're going too fast, was your car a weapon?
No,
then?
but that's what self-defense laws are.
Yeah, and it'd still be a deadly weapon even if it's self-defense. I don't think.
Because self-defense says that if it's going to cause great bodily harm or death, you have the right to actually kill somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Brad
So
Ganser
in
says
your
legally.
case, if someone's trying to rob you, especially with like you could be perceived as trying to defend your life. They're trying to rob you because when someone's trying to rob you, you're either too weak where they could overpower you physically, which then you assume great bodily harm, or they're using a firearm or a knife or something like that. And so if you drove off and the robber was killed, self-defense laws take effect.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems in this case, it's it's a little goofy. It's not as cut and dry as the case you just gave, but it does seem like you could make the argument. I just quickly Googled it, and it just seems like there's just a lot of people that weigh in on that issue because obviously I think it's probably come up, and not just with cops doing their job, but other things. So
the
it
biggest
warrants a little bit more discussion. I don't know. What do you guys think at home?
The biggest thing that I am curious about is in cop training stuff. It seems like somebody refuses to get out of the car. Next step is to try to get them out of the car, and I'm pretty sure that you're supposed to take their keys or something, assuming they're complying a decent amount, which this guy was not. But then as soon as the car starts getting put into drive, taking off, you get away from that car because you're going to get tugged along, and that's not going to be good, right?
Yeah, and we just, once again, the media and everyone wants to jump to Ricky Cobb, the poor victim, and I'm not saying the guy deserved to die, but you also have to look at him. It was trying to harm law enforcement officers doing a legal act here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Do you think
and
that...
we're people that actually say Chauvin probably was guilty of something. We're not like... Cops are always right. Look, Minneapolis had a really, really bad cop who did get prosecuted. He shot a freaking woman who literally was calling about, I think it was a suspicious person or someone like home invasion. It was that Australian woman. So the cops aren't always right, clearly. Yeah. But
right, and I think it's called the use of force continuum. And
that sounds right.
Basically that just shows like the procedural way that a police officer is supposed to engage with a civilian and what steps must be taken and what needs to be done to qualify for deadly force and what needs to be done to qualify for all these other things. So I think that's where the discussion should be at.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this continues to solidify my position of the Minneapolis police on the training side need a reformation, and on like the legal side, because I don't think that they can be tried in just normal court like somebody else would be. Cause
100% agree with you on what you're saying in the sense of training. I mean, cops don't get enough training. They don't get enough firearms training,
Yeah.
From a guy that comes from the military background, it's crazy to think how little they get trained on this stuff. It's basically...
Yeah, like 6 months is the...
No, I don't even mean their initial training, the schooling. I'm talking about like so just like in the military, if you're enlisted, you go to basic training. If you're an officer, you go to some kind of officer basic course, and just thinking about infantry basic officer course was 6 months, Fort Benning, Georgia. I don't know what they still do these days. And then you go to your unit. It's not like the training stops. You're training most of the time. But what happens with police is they just start going on patrols.
The Tucker says that these were troopers. Is there a big difference between?
Well, he's saying there's a difference between state troopers and the Minneapolis Police Department.
Yeah.
I think he was just making the distinction.
Okay,
state troopers same way. They're going on patrols. They're not like I remember Jocko Willink had a great way to put this, and I don't remember which case this was. I don't think it was George Floyd, but maybe it was. And he was just talking about, police need more training. It's like 1/3 time off, 1/3 time training, 1/3 patrolling. It's like, literally. Because, and by the way, training for incidents like this, to me, is pretty key. Training for mental health issues, people that you're dealing with. But we don't. We put them out on patrol, and this shit happens. And well, I guess we'll see where this goes. But once again, it's 6 months after the fact. It's like what's prompting this all of a sudden? We were so worried about the story because we thought it was going to end up being riots again in Minnesota. And apparently, for riots, you need to have a bunch of people during COVID with nothing else to do because, you know.
And when you got Mary Moriarty as your prosecutor, what do you need to protest?
Right.
You know, these liberals got everything they want. So, you know, I guess they're happy with where we're at.
And just think about this. The guy's going to be prosecuting Hennepin County. That freaking sucks. That sucks.
Do you guys recognize the name Moriarty from anything else?
Why? No, I don't think so.
Moriarty is the name of the bad guy in the Sherlock Holmes series.
Yeah.
It's super rare, so I just had to point it out.
What's North Minnesota have to say? And then we'll wrap things up here.
Yeah, let's see. North Minnesota says they have to take annual training on multiple things, firearms, use of force, etc. Their first duty is public safety.
Isn't that interesting? They have to take annual training. Like,
Just once a year?
right. Well, I know how little cops shoot their firearms. It's sad. Like, if you ever go shoot, like, ARs with me, you'll see how proficient I am with that, because in the military, you shoot them all the time. I wasn't as proficient with a handgun. I learned more of my handgun skills after the military because, quite frankly, M9 was just not really. It wasn't the biggest thing. It's given officers so they have a firearm, but when they don't need it, you know.
Yeah.
Basically. I'm sure MPs probably use it more.
Right.
Yeah,
But, you know, I just think
I come from a background where you train constantly for this very reason.
Yeah. Right. I think so too. I think it's better if there's more training, but I don't want to talk too much smack on the cops here because I think they get a lot of it. And North MN says military gets told what to do in every situation. That's true. I was just about to say something about the cops, but I forgot
I don't know what that
so
means.
I can't remember.
I don't know what that means. Military gets told what to do in every situation. That's not necessarily true. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll be talking about this story. This is going to lead a lot of headlines.
Yeah, this is going to continue on. Mary Moriarty, you know, she put out her press release. She's not going to say anything else because she doesn't want to give any further answers. Typical Moriarty, and, you know, we'll just have to continue to follow it because, yeah, I think this is going to continue to develop, and it's going to be interesting what happens.
Right. The stories we didn't get to, because we got to wrap things up here, but the stories we didn't get to, Nikki Haley's still in this race. We made the prediction she's going to have to drop out. She's going to have to drop out. Like, there's no path forward, right? If I could just opine on the subject for a second. She's getting her butt kicked in South Carolina. The media is ignoring Nevada, which happens on February 6th. Trump's winning. I mean, Haley can't actually win in Nevada. She's...
Right. And, you know, the one thing I was thinking on optics, why is she choosing to do it that way? Because she's participating in the primary, the non-binding primary, which gives you 0 delegates for the RNC convention, which also means she can't participate in the caucus. Why is she doing that? I'm thinking she wants that headline that shows Nikki Haley wins Nevada GOP primary. It doesn't matter that Trump's not on the ballot. She just wants that headline that says she won.
But I don't think that's the case because they're ignoring Nevada already.
I know, but I think that she sees more opportunity with that headline than competing against Trump for delegates.
She's still not going to win the primary, though.
No, she just wants the momentum. Well, you know, that's the thing. She probably will win this Nevada primary just because.
They'll probably write in Trump.
I don't know about that. You know, because,
well, they did it with Biden in New Hampshire.
Yeah,
there's the other thing.
Here's the thing.
I'm glad I didn't commit to Dean Phillips winning New Hampshire because
Yeah.
I didn't know. I was in the dark on that.
Right.
We were pretty good. We both, well, actually, you guessed Trump over 60, so I didn't think he was going to do over 60.
Right.
But, like, I didn't know on Dean Phillips, and Dean Phillips got his ass handed to him by a write-in candidate. Joe Biden got, like, what, 60, 70%?
Yeah, right. But, you know, basically with the whole Nevada thing, it's just going to be very, very interesting because I think she just wants that headline. And the only other people who are going to be on the ballot, I don't know if Trump is going to tell the Nevada Republicans to vote for, I call him Uncle Tim Tom Scott, because I don't know if Trump, you know, I think.
Wouldn't that be funny if he does that?
Honestly, he might, you know, because Trump is, but I think Trump is mainly going to, you know, I think it confuses the message too much if he says vote for Tim Scott and then 2 days later vote for me. And,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't know exactly what his plan is going to be. I think he's basically going to say this is a fake primary. Don't vote in it. Come to the caucus. I'll see you there. You know, I think that's going to be more his style. And
Do you know
he'll say
Trump-
Nikki won a fake primary is what he'll do.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, that's what
He's going to say it was a rigged primary.
Do you know Trump won the most votes ever in the New Hampshire primary.
I did see that.
Ever.
Yeah, and that was pretty interesting to me because I thought, how did he beat 2020? You know, I thought,
Right.
of course he had to have done better in 2020, but I think just because of the interest of this race and everything, and because all
guess.
these Democrats came out to vote for Nikki, and you can find it in all these different interviews where...
And we showed that before the
right.
vote even happened.
Oh,
Exit
yeah, and
polls-
that's the thing.
Exit polls showed it.
Yeah, the interviewers going up to voters, they say, so who are you going to vote for? Nikki Haley. Okay, if it's down to Nikki Haley and Joe Biden, who are you voting? Joe Biden. So, these people are full-blown Democrats that just wanted to try to go after Trump, and this was Nikki Haley's only chance at winning a state was New Hampshire.
And
she still lost by
handlers
double digits.
Spent $50 million. She lost by 11 points. $50 million. So she did better than I even thought she was going to do, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's because basically it was Trump versus her. They're really the next tier, Chris Christie or whatever, was under 1 point. So
Yeah.
they broke to one of the two camps.
Yeah.
But they spent like $50 million total in New Hampshire. They were all in. And so
Right.
here's the deal. I can't imagine she's looking for a black swan event at this point. I
Yeah.
can't imagine she wants to go to South Carolina and lose her home state where like the political people like Tim Scott are on board with Trump. I can't imagine she's going to go do that. So at this point, it's either wait for the black swan event. I don't know what that is. Assassination of Trump, or because he's not going to get prosecuted that quickly for anything. So
Yeah.
or yeah,
I think so too. That's her hope. She's hoping Trump goes to jail. She's hoping Trump dies. That's
But he's
her
not
only
going.
chance.
No, but she knows that he can't go to jail before this, right? None of these things are going to happen that quick.
Right. That's what she's hoping for. She's hoping something happens. And I think Nikki's done. She's almost irrelevant, even though she's still running. She's desperate for attention, and
But see, less people are going to come to her, so she's going to get no momentum from debates, right?
Yeah.
But please, Trump, debate her, because just for the entertainment value. But they're not going to, right?
Right.
So her rallies are going to have less people in them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the media can't.
It's hard to even
spin
call
this
it a
enough.
rally.
Yeah.
I've seen one speech where I was like, that kind of looks like a rally. She has a decent amount of people there. But I mean, most of the time, I just saw one video. Nikki Haley cancels event because nobody showed up to it. It was like a Dean Phillips moment. She was like, she went to this restaurant. They had all the signs out, but nobody's there. So
And
she
that's
quick
gonna happen.
scuttled out of there,
That's going to happen. It's going to be the sad politicos and her staff that will be at these events. That's it.
Yeah.
And, it's embarrassing. So, yeah, she's got to have a exit plan at this point, and it's got to happen before the February 24th, right?
I
South
think so,
Carolina?
yeah. And February 6th is Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll still be right, even though she hasn't dropped out yet. Although, I don't know. I haven't looked at the headlines in the last hour.
Yeah. Well, here, do we want to wrap up on this AOC video? I think it's hilarious.
All
It's
right.
hilarious. People got to see it. And, it's one of those things, I watch these liberal interviews so you don't have to. And I can just show you the best moments. So line 17 there, Dawson. And, 44 minutes, 40 seconds into it. And, we'll just let it go.
1 second.
Look at those crazies right there, though.
Hurts those that really rely on those tips. Okay. Had it or hit it, Joe Biden.
Hit it. Honestly, here's the thing. I think sometimes people want electoral politics to be, we overly identify with it's like if you vote for someone.
What is so interesting about this video?
Just because, so the first thing, hit it or had it. So basically, it's kind of like a smash or pass
Is that what
type
she
thing.
said?
Yeah, hit it or had it.
She
and
said
she said hit it.
She said hit it or had it, but I think I asked earlier if this was like a smash or pass, like I want to have relations with this person, and that's not what's going on here.
No, it's like, do you love it or do you hate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but hit it. What does hit it mean? What does that mean? We all know what it means.
I'm trying to look it up right now.
Is this supposed to be AOC being like, I love Joe Biden?
Right, and there's more to it if we want to keep it going.
Obviously, you're taking this way. Yeah, they're having a loose term, but had it means you've already done it. Hit it means
No, had it means you're sick of it.
Yeah.
You've had it.
Oh, this is a generational thing, by the way, because like this stuff didn't exist in my generation.
Yeah.
Although eHarmony was starting to pop up, I think, I know my younger brother was on.
This is generation. You never said which celebrity would you hit.
So
like,
had
this
it
one, this one.
means no, I don't. I do other
It's the
things
same
in my
thing.
life. Had it means you've had it with the person.
Yeah.
I assumed it meant because I was like, what's the option here? You had it already, or you want to hit it? Like, what if it's neither one? Mm-hmm. So you've either had it with the person, or you want to hit it.
Yeah, you've either had enough or you want it. Yeah, but there's more to it. I want to keep going just a tiny bit more because
you're extending the show. Okay, you better have something here, Justin.
I'm telling you, it's interesting.
All right.
They have to be the embodiment of you. And that's actually something that I think Donald Trump provided to a lot of people, where it's like, if you voted for him and if you were a Donald Trump person, you want, it symbolized so much. But I think what we have here in this situation is a more just honest thing. There are plenty of things that the president does that I completely disagree with. I think, right now what's happening in Gaza, I can't go on every single day seeing this. I don't associate myself with what's happening.
But you'd hit it.
Okay, yep. That's good right there. So
man.
basically, what
I hope
she's saying
her
is,
supporters own her for that one.
oh, of course, and they have been, because they're saying, okay, he's Genocide Joe. That's what the left calls Joe Biden, Genocide Joe. But still get behind it because, and she goes on in that interview, because fascism is on the way. Trump is on the way with fascism. And you look at it, it's like, you guys are the ones who want the big government. You guys are the ones who are the socialists. You guys are the ones who, want to go to war in all these different places. Maybe not AOC on that one, but, she's sitting there saying, yeah, he's Genocide Joe, but he's our grandpa.
Yeah.
He's our guy, and let's hit it because he's so good. He's so cool. Give me a break. I think a lot of the left is seeing through it, and that's why, you see the Jill Steins, the Cornel West, that, all these different things are popping off, because you realize the left is not fully happy with Joe Biden, and I'm happy to see it separate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair point. All right. We want to thank our sponsors, Alpine Cabinetry and Warren Wessel, Warren Wessel Realty, all you guys that were in the comment section today, all you Rumble ranters. We have a new YouTube channel that's going up. Did you post that in the link? Why don't you
I can do it again.
Post it after the show, Dawson. Most of our audience watches after the show. Anyhow, thank you guys very much. We'll be back on Tuesday with another episode. Take care.